right, so the first thing that you will want to do is you will want to take your 12 by 12 blank piece of paper and your stencil, whether it's the wood grain stencil that I provided in your goodie bag, or maybe you have a stencil with a texture or pattern that you think would suit this layout really well, or maybe you want to combine a couple stencils. And I just applied 3 little pieces of that stencil on my page. So I did the top left-hand corner, the middle right-hand side, and then the bottom sort of off-centered to the left again. And then this paper we're putting on top, if you want to grab your fairy paper and just sort of lay it on top of your page so you have an idea, a reference point of how much of each stencil is going to show, so that you sort of know what you're working with space-wise. You even could pencil it on there if you wanted to, how much of it's being covered with your fairy paper. And then you just take your stencil with your blending foam, whether you're using a blending brush or a foam or a dauber or whatever you like to use. Keeping in mind this stencil is very pretty, but it is there's lots of itty bitty little pieces that like to move, so you have to keep your fingers constantly very close to where you're inking. Otherwise the little details sort of shift and lift on this stencil.
And tell.
Yeah.
Did you use brown or green? It's hard to tell.
I used brown.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. But green would also look lovely. And if you have pixie spray and you're not like emotionally against it, like some people here, this would be a lovely, I think, an excellent candidate of a stencil to use your pixie spray on.
Oh, emotionally against it. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it.
You know I love you, Monica.
True, and I actually used it on the last stencil and it worked okay, so I forgot about this. I could probably use it.
Yes, you should. This is like, of all the stencils on the planet, this is the one that I think you would appreciate it the most.
I've already done 2 of them without it, but we'll try it on the last part.
Did it go okay? Did you struggle with the stencil lifting?
Well, the first one I started stamping just like that instead of rubbing it.
That's what I did, yeah. If you push down just a bunch of times rather than the sort of motion.
Just doing it like this doesn't work, but just dabbing it works fine.
Yeah.
And the pixie spray actually helps.
Good. Yeah, for this
one, I'm going to go...
So for this stencil, actually, too, Monica makes a good point. I did the same thing. Like, I'll hold it closer so you can kind of see. I did with my, I don't have it here, so it's hard for me to show, but like I used just like a little finger dabber, and like if this was my surface of my work surface, I dabbed rather than rubbed. That it keeps the stencil in place better. Plus, it gives you like all these little textured edges, right? So there's darker spots and lighter spots, which, in my opinion, for like a wood grain tree trunk, it actually is like a very cool look. Sometimes you want a smoother finish of your ink, but in this instance, I actually think that those edges, like the darker edges, when you dab, actually looks kind of pretty on this visual. I think it suits it very nicely. But what the heck do I know? And take your time on that. But once you've done that, the rest of this layout is incredibly simple. You will glue your 8.5 by 11 fairy paper down. I had her centered, like as best as my eyeballs could do, on the 12 by 12 page. And then I just ran the vines, one down each side of the 8.5 by 11 paper. And then just glued the word magical on. I'll hold this up here for your visual reference. Oh, Leanne, that's pretty. Did you do a red? Is that red? That's really nice.
It's called nutmeg.
Oh.
So it's kind of a brownie red.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really nice.
I've never used the stencils without making one heck of a mess, so I bought one of these brushes.